these jobs will be gone within the next 24 months. And I'm not talking about taxi drivers or Uber drivers or factory workers or data entry operators. I'm talking about coaches, course creators, experts, and freelancers. And it may very well be you. The question is, how do you know if your job is at risk? And more importantly, if it is, maybe it's already gone and you don't even know it. What do we need to do to ensure that you become unfireable and irreplaceable? And I've narrowed it down to 3 things. Actually, there's a 4th secret thing that's going to allow you to, number 1, identify whether or not your job is at risk or not, but more importantly, what we need to do to ensure your future. So there's 4 things, and I want to go through them one step at a time. Just to give some context, I've been in business in the coaching space for almost 10 years now. In a 10-year period, to make it this long, I've personally had to go through 2 massive economic downturns globally. So the first one was in Australia in 2016 when the whole mining industry collapsed and the Australian economy was on the brink of bankruptcy. That's the first part which we had to endure. Then obviously the world had to endure economic downturns in 2020 and 2021 with the pandemic hitting. And so in order to make it through business over 10 years, you need to understand on what's going to make you last the test of time and what's going to make you irrelevant. And I've seen people lose their jobs, industries get wiped out, and big technological changes wipe people out if they are not prepared. And so the big question is, how do you know? And the good news is, in this video here, I'm going to show you exactly what to do. And so the first problem that you may have is what I call an obedience economy. So what's an obedience economy? Obedience economy is an economy where you just do as you're told. Here's the steps, here's the instructions, follow my orders, and repeat, 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 repeat. Now that worked up until a certain point in time, but it does not work anymore. I'll give you an example. So I used to be an optometrist before I became a coach for over 10 years. That's 10 years of optometry, 5 years studying the degree, and then 10 years practicing. So that's 15 years in the industry. And 10 years as an optometrist, I had done over 20,000 eye tests. That's a lot of eye tests. Now, if you've been to an optometrist before, you know when you sit down in an optometry room, they put on that big phoropter, that's called a phoropter, and there are all these lenses in front of you, and they go, which is clearer, 1 or 2? 1 or 2? 1 or 2, and you read the letter chart, and they do it again, 1 or 2, 1 or 2, they double check. And in a general eye test, you may get asked that about 20, 30, 40 times. And at the end, you get your prescription, you get some glasses that allow you to see better. I did that every single day for 10 years. I had done 20,000 eye tests in the time that I was an optometrist. Every single week, I would repeat that 1 or 2 hundreds of times. And about 7 or 8 years into me being an optometrist, I had this big realization that I was getting paid to repeat. I wasn't getting paid to think. And when you're getting paid to repeat, that's a very dangerous position, because if someone else can repeat it for you at a cheaper, faster rate, you will be replaced. And luckily, I got out early 8 years ago, and that didn't happen yet. And there was no AI back then anyway. And right now, AI can replace you if you have an obedience mindset and you're extremely task-orientated. So if you're task-orientated in an obedience economy, you will be replaced because you're repeating the same task again and again and again and again. And right now, the optometry industry, and I feel so bad about it because I used to be an optometrist and I care about the industry. And I know right now, most of my friends are still optometrists and they are struggling to find work. Why? Because they're being replaced by cheaper new graduates with laws that have loosened on what it takes to become an optometrist. And now universities just pumping them out. When I started, there was 3 universities in Australia, and each university would graduate about 40 to 50 optometrists per year. So there's about 150 optometrists new into the marketplace every year. Now, the population hasn't grown that much, but there's about 1,000 to 1,200 new optometrists being pumped out by the universities every single year. What that means is if you're getting paid to repeat and there's an oversupply of optometrists, you're going to become redundant because someone will do it cheaper than you. Now with AI coming in, and AI is replacing people who are being paid to repeat, just doing tasks every single day, they are going to get replaced. So step number one is to ask yourself, is what you're doing right now in your coaching expert freelance space repetitive? Is 80% of your tasks the same? Because if it is the same every single day, if you're following SOPs, if you're following checklists, if you're following guidelines, if you're doing the same thing every time, well, guess what? I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you've probably already been replaced. I'll give you an example. Now, we have 2 full-time video graphic designers that work for us, and I've been on so many podcasts, and you sit on a podcast for an hour and it's awesome. Now, the cool thing about sitting on a podcast for an hour is that you get interviewed and there's an hour-long content that you can post on YouTube. And if you go to my channel, you'll see many of them. But the cool thing about those podcasts is you can chop it up into like an hour. An hour podcast can be chopped up into, say, 30 to 40 shorts and little reels. And that's cool because now you just pump out even more content. And so I used to get my editor to go and watch the podcast and find the best 30 spots to produce like a 60 to 90 second reel out of. And he used to watch the whole thing. He'll watch it an hour, watch it again, watch it again, watch it a 4th time and go, that's a good hook, that's a good hook, that's a good short, that's a good short. And he has to make 30 decisions on that one podcast and produce it and extract it out and cut it out and put music, put captions, put everything. And it would take him literally in the first week just by watching it and studying it just to decide which may be good or not good, just to decide. And then he'll run it through me. Is this good? Is this not good? And it's like, I don't know about that. And I have to get involved with it. And it's very stressful. It's frustrating. It takes too long. And then getting it edited with the captions, with the music, with all that kind of stuff. And then each day he could only have a bandwidth to do maybe about 3 to 4 per day. And so by the end of the next week, you can produce 20, if you're lucky, little shorts from it. And then the next week, you can produce the other 20. And so it takes you at least 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks from one podcast just to get 30 to 40 reels out of it. But now there's AI software that can do all of that in less than 5 minutes. It chops it up into 30 to 40 reels. It plays the background music and puts the captions to your branding. All you need to do is upload that 1 hour podcast and boom, you got 30 to 40 shorts or reels done in under 5 minutes on what used to take 3 to 4 weeks. It used to take about 200 hours, now it takes less than 5 minutes. Just imagine that for a second there. If you're a freelancer, you need to wake up. And I mean this in the nicest, sincerest way. Please do not be complacent with this because your job has probably already been replaced. So that's the bad news. The good news is there's another level which allows you to become irreplaceable. So I'll give you an example though. Okay, that's for freelancers. What if I'm a coach? What if I'm a coach? And I'm posting content every day. I'm trying to get leads. I'm trying to do sales calls. I'm trying to do all these processes. Well, guess what? There's a big part of your job right now and you're delivering great results for your clients and you've got a course that's $3,000 and that course teaches the same thing to the students every single time, and every single week you're teaching one thing, the next week you're teaching another thing, and you're teaching the same thing over and over and over again. You're actually repeating. I hope the light bulb moments just kind of came out. If you're repeating the same coaching course again and that's your IP and that's what you're actually selling, well, guess what? Unfortunately, there's going to be AI, and there already is, that can do that for you. And why would someone buy your $2,000 course that is on repeat, that you deliver the same all the time, when you can go to ChatGPT or some other AI software and enter, here's the problem, here's the course, here's what do I need to do to solve this problem? Like if I'm a parenting coach, how do I help my 11-year-old who's going through a hard time? And there's a 6-step process. ChatGPT can do that for you because you are just repeating it and they can get it done for free. And it's on demand 24/7 and it doesn't cost anything or a very low subscription. And so if you're delivering even and you're got an obedience mindset and you're doing the same thing over and over again, that's going to be replaced. That's the scary news. Even if you're a digital marketer or you're a media buyer, the same thing. If you're reading the same data, trying to put the same ads through and getting the same ROI and looking at CAC and all these things when it comes to business, then that's going to be replaced as well. And so if 80% of your tasks are the same, know that you're in danger. Know that you're in danger. So what's the solution to this? Well, the solution is this. Well, it's to raise your thinking. When I say thinking, I mean this. The problem with most people is that they live in a, what do I call, a right, wrong culture. Now, it's not your fault. It's not your fault if you live in a right-wrong culture. What do I mean by this? A right-wrong culture is a culture where you were being brought up where the things are right or wrong. And that was certainly my culture. When I was brought up, if I did something good, you're right. And if I'm right, it means I'm a good person. If I'm a good person, it means I'm worthy of love. If I'm wrong, it means I'm a bad person. And I'm a bad person, I'm not worthy of love. What's the point in living? And so it's like you're either right or wrong. Every time you're wrong, you get punished. Every time you're right, you get a gold star. There was never anything else outside right and wrong. It was black and white. And if you do maths, you're either right or wrong. It was not like, what did you learn? If you got a spelling mistake, you're right or wrong. It was very black and white. It was very like, it's this or this. There was no in between. And being in a world where you're either right or wrong, that level of thinking allows you to not become creative. And so you only think black and white. And when you only think black and white, it creates this fear inside of you that says this. It says, wow, if I'm wrong, it means I'm not a good person, and it means I'm not worthy of love. It means I'm not good enough. And so I'd rather not try, and I'd rather not be creative, and I'd rather not think outside the box to preserve me being right or in fear of being wrong. Because if I'm wrong, and if I say something or I create something or I try something and I fail, it means I'm wrong and it means I'm not good enough. Wow. And so if you've got a right-wrong mentality, again, not your fault because you may be brought up that way, but if you're an adult now, unfortunately, it's your problem right now. And so if you've got a right-wrong mentality right now, that's going to limit your thinking, because if your thinking is all conformed into a box to preserve you being right, you will be made redundant because you won't be creative. And so the solution is this. The world will only reward those who create. You need to start having a creative mindset, and you may call it a resourceful mindset. You may call it think outside the box mindset. You may call it decision-making mindset. You may call it a mindset that's willing to explore. Whatever you want to call it, those mindsets are the mindsets that are going to be rewarded exponentially in the times we're in right now. And so, for example, I'll give it another relation to my graphic designers who now I used to pay them a monthly wage to do our videos, and they could maybe produce 30, 40 videos a month for us, which is fine, like 30 to 40 shorts, which is great. And you pay them and it's great. But now AI can do it for less than 5 minutes for almost for free. And so I said to them, is their job at risk? Well, no, their job is not at risk. Their role is at risk. If they keep on thinking that the role is just to do tasks, that's at risk. So I said to them, well, your role right now is not to do, your role is to think, but to create. And think about how can we make these videos better? How can we make it even more viral? What would be even a better headline here? What would be even better music? Which one is going better? Which one went well? And how can you get more of those that went really well? So your job has gone from being the doer to the decision maker and the creator. And when you start to create and use your thinking, then you can become really, really successful. So how does it relate to you if you're a coach? Okay, so if I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again, if I'm teaching the same thing over again, I'm going to be replaced. You are, because AI can do it for cheaper and faster and less effort. And so no one would want to pay for you when they get it free and it's better advice. So rather than trying to sell courses and trying to build a community and a group and all that, you need to start selling experiences. And thinking outside the box on selling experiences. Because yes, AI can replace most of the things you're doing right now, but it can't replace the human experience. So your course is now no longer a course, it's an experience with you. And you can do experiences virtually or you can do it in person. Either way is fine, but someone needs to feel like they're getting an experience and walking through a transformation with you and having fun along the way and getting breakthroughs, getting insights and getting deep, genuine connections where they feel like they're progressing something worthy and meaningful. I'll give you an example. So only a couple of weeks ago, I was in the Gold Coast, which is a city in Australia, and I was on 5 different podcasts, and that's why I was in the Gold Coast. And because I was there anyway, I thought, okay, my students have access to Richmond AI. They can get me on tap. And that made me think, well, why do I need to do a weekly group call anymore? Because they can just ask Richmond AI 24/7. It's like they got unlimited one-on-one coaching with me 24/7. And so if they buy lifetime access that I was subscribed to, it's going to impact our business. And so how do I keep them entertained? How do I have them stay for longer? How do I have them refer their friends? Because one day something may replace Richmond AI and become better. And I know that Richmond AI may not always be the gold standard. Right now, it's a gold standard for our community teaching tiny challenges. But I know that something better might come out and they'll just buy that because it's cheaper and faster. And so I know that even Richmond AI might be replaceable. So how do I become irreplaceable? So I need to think outside the box and start to give experiences. And so I went to the Gold Coast and I said, hey guys, I'm there anyway. And I had a big penthouse and I invited a small number of my inner circle, 0.1, to come with me and hang out with me and watch me on my podcast tour. Then we'll go and I'll teach them a little framework of how I actually did that. And also then we went out to dinner, we got a Hummer, and afterwards we had some drinks at the end. It was such a good night. And we got them bonding and connecting because for me, I love, personally, I've been best man 5 times. I've done 5 best man speeches, 5 bachelor parties that I've created. And so I don't want to sound this bad way, like I like partying. When I say partying, not like getting drunk and doing drugs. And I like going out and I like having a fun time. I like getting dressed. I like having a couple of drinks with some friends. I like the nightlife. I like the lights. I like going to nice dinner and drinking some wine. I like that, and I'm good at doing that. And we have so much fun, have great conversations, connecting with people, and it's such a great moment. And I'm really good at creating a great experience for my friends. And so I thought, what if I just do that for my 0.1s? And so now I started to sell experiences, and I know experiences cannot be replaced because every experience is going to be different and it's not repeatable because people are different, dynamics are different, conversations are different, and it's something you cannot replace from a visceral level as well. And so then I moved from being task-orientated. I didn't want to think right and wrong. I want to think outside the box and start selling experience. Now, on the note of right and wrong, if the world is not made of right and wrong, what is it then? It's either you got what you want or you got a lesson. If you got a pen and paper right now, write this down. This is super important. Life will always give you what you need, not what you want. Most of the time, you don't get what you want in life, but you always get what you need. And we don't live in a world of right and wrong. We live in a world of, did I get what I want or did I get what I needed? And so we live in a world of wants and needs. And that mindset allows you to become a creator. It allows you to think outside the box. And so when you move away from 80% of tasks being repeatable to 80% of tasks being non-repeatable, and you start selling experiences and you start creating different ways of doing things where it can't be replaced by AI, you're getting one step closer to becoming irreplaceable. But there's a third thing that will stop you from becoming irreplaceable, is this. It's trust. So even if you move away from 80% of your tasks being repeatable, even if you start thinking creatively, why would someone still want to work with you? It's, do they trust you? And trust comes from your story. You may call this your personal brand, whatever you want to call it, but your personal story. That's going to be the thing that connects you to your ideal clients more than anything else. Now, I used to be an optometrist. I was in a profession which was unfulfilled. And in my cultural upbringing, you had to become a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, an optometrist, an engineer, a whatever the thing is. You had to become one of those. And I was the good boy. I did all the right things. I went to school, studied hard, got valedictorian, which is high school ducks, got one of the top awards in optometry. I became an optometrist. I earned a 6-figure income, made my family proud, made my parents proud, made all my cousins, uncles, and aunties proud, made everybody proud except myself because I was living someone else's dream. But that was a cultural upbringing. And I did all that only to find myself depressed, unfulfilled, and I invested poorly in the property market, and the mining towns collapsed, and I lost everything. And I was 33 with nothing to show for it. But I did all the right things. Did all the right things with nothing to show for it. And I made the big, bold move that this career is not for me, and I wanted to do something more fulfilling in my life. I wanted to become a coach. I love the internet marketing space. I loved helping people. I love helping people get a breakthrough and resolve their limiting beliefs and have a more fulfilling life and create the relationship and the health and the intimacy and the friendships and just build more confidence and break through the mold of living someone else's dream. And I did that. I moved away from the Asian upbringing from an optometry to living what I wanted to do. And that is a big deal. The backlash I got from my family, and I get they were worried. So it wasn't like from a bad intent or a bad place. And they were just scared that, well, what are you doing? Maybe some of them were like, you know, right now you're bringing the family down. And to some degree, I probably did because it was not the cultural upbringing. And so I share that story with you because I know that life's too short to live someone else's dream. And that was me. And now fast forward today, almost 10 years later, $20 million online, living our dream life, working from home. I get to see my kids a lot. I get to spend so much time with Penny. And the world is very different. More important, I'm fulfilled. And I know the best way to make your parents happy is not to do what they want you to do, but to do what you want to do to make you happy. Because when they see you happy, they become happy. A mum always knows if you're happy, by the way. She always knows. And so that's how I made my parents happy, by finding my happy place. And so why am I sharing that story? I know as I share that story, there's going to be a lot of you who came from a professional background, whether you're an optometrist, dentist, pharmacist, lawyer, engineer, and maybe if you understand the Asian culture, you will relate to that story that I've just shared with you because that's a true story to me, and you'll feel a deeper connection to me than maybe, I don't know, like maybe a different nationality or maybe a different culture or maybe a different race with different cultural upbringings or religious beliefs or whatever the case may be. Like I'm in Myron Golden's mastermind, and Myron Golden is a Black African American, and in his community, I'm the only Asian person there. And the majority of his community is African American. But he doesn't market to African Americans. It's just because they relate to his story better. You know what I mean? And I attract a lot of Asians professionals, not because I'm like, I only coach Asian professionals. I don't say that and I don't market that, but because they relate to my story better. And I'm very close friends with Russell Brunson now, and I'm in his mastermind and inner circle as well. And Russell Brunson attracts a lot of Mormons because he's Mormon, but he never says, hey, I only help Mormons, because that's his personal story. And so your personal story is going to be the thing that connects your audience to you and makes you relatable because they know that you guys are like in the same family. And so when you have a relatable personal story and you are selling experiences because you're thinking outside the box continually and 80% of the things you do are not repeatable, then you get this nice, awesome zone in the middle here, right in the middle here, gold star here, where you become irreplaceable. or unfireable. Sorry, ran out of space there to write that. Unfireable, irreplaceable. And that's the zone there. When you're in that zone, you are safe. I want to give you one more that will ensure your future. And most of you already know it, but you're not living it. You know what? Because your parents taught you this when you were growing up. And then if you have kids, you're probably teaching your kids this too, but you are probably not living it. It's this. Your top 5. Who is in your circle? Tell me who your friends are. I'll tell you what your future is. Your intimate circle, your top 5 is going to be the predictor, the number one predictor of your success. If you spend time with successful people, you become successful. If you spend time with people who only think right and wrong, you will become replaceable. If you spend time with people who are only task-oriented and 80% of the things they do are repeatable, then you become replaced because they're not thinking outside the box. They don't have a great personal story. Whatever. If you spend time with victims, you will also become a victim unless you've had enough and you break away from the peer group and find a new peer group. You will always become who you spend time with. And really think about this. When you grew up, your parents said to you, hey, don't hang around that crowd. I don't like you hanging around that person. Or if you're a parent and your child comes home and they're not having a good day, what happened? I don't know, Mary was mean to me today. Or Tim said this. And it's like, wow. But then sometimes they come home and it's like, I had such a good time because Lara was in today and I got to play with her and they got along so well and she's a different person. So you already know that some friends that your child hangs out with are better for them than other friends, or someone's more ambitious, or someone is more kind, or someone's funny. But there's other toxic friends, and you don't want your children to hang around toxic people because you know if they hang around toxic people, they become more toxic. And that's the truth. And your parents have been told you, so you know that. You know that consciously. And now if you're mature enough and you're smart enough, you've probably reached the point in your life where you're like, okay, I know I shouldn't hang around toxic people, and you probably let some toxic people go in your life, and that's cool. And so you know you shouldn't hang around toxic people. What have you done then? Then you start hanging around people just like you, which is a mistake. Hanging around with people just like you is a mistake because you don't grow. You become comfortable. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't hang around with people just like you. I believe the perfect blend in your top 5 is if you're in your top 5, you should have 2 people just like you and 2 people doing a lot better than you. That way you can have some rapport, activity, have some fun, but then you have someone that stretches you to grow. But more importantly, if you're hanging around people who are creative thinkers, who are innovators, who have a great story, who are trustworthy, who are authentic, who are real, who don't have to be fake, who don't have to conform. Have you noticed that the people you trust, the people you least likely trust are the ones that conform? They're the pleasers. They're the people that tell you what you want to hear and you feel like there's no genuine connection there. Have you ever noticed the person that you like the most is the most authentic and real? There's too many fake people out there because they're trying to conform, and that breaks trust. And so if you're hanging around people who are trying to conform, who have a right-wrong mentality and an obedience economy, then you are going to fail as well. But have you ever wondered this? Why is it that the majority, over 99% of people who win the lotto, in 2 years' time, they've lost it all again, and they're worse off? Because they hang around the same friends. Have you also wondered why is it that when multimillionaires or even billionaires lose everything, in a short amount of time, they get it all back and they make it all back? Why is that? It's funny. Lotto winners, when they win, they lose it all within a couple of years, and they sometimes even get worse because they have the same friends. Millionaires and billionaires, when they lose everything, in a couple of years, they get it all back. Why? Because they still have the same friends. So if you want to survive, if you want to become irreplaceable, if you want to become unfireable, make sure you spend time with the right people, because the right people will know how to adapt and evolve in any changing economy because they have the mindset to do it. They know that they don't need to do things that are 80% replaceable. They can think outside the box and create, and they are people who don't conform. And that is how you win. That is how you become irreplaceable. I trust this video has been worthwhile. If you're looking to create your own personal story that connects with your audience, I do also have a video on how to create your origin story, on how to tell a story that sells, but more importantly, that allows you to become authentic and create you. And you'll see this video on my channel. It's a 2-hour-long video, and I give you the whole framework on how to share a story. And it's a video I did for my 30K.1 Inner Circle students as well. And you can find it for free on my channel right here, right now. I'll see if I can put the link in the description there for you. Guys, keep believing and never settle.